Anyway, it's fine. It's not my favorite coverage, but it's pretty good for mainstream news. I was right about like not going hard enough. Here's some criticism. John Oliver's latest episode explains Netanyahu's grip on power in Israel. I absolutely love John Oliver and generally thought this episode was pretty solid, but here are some of my comments. Firstly, I really appreciated that he and his team used great domestic reporting from Ronan Bergman and Amos Harel. Not a big fan of Ronan Bergman, by the way, but whatever. Covering many of the internal crises which characterized Bibi's tenure and Sarah's insanity, though he didn't mention some of the funniest stuff, including his fail son, Yair. I thought his coverage of Bibi's incitement following Rabin's signing of the Oslo Accords and his dedication to thwarting peace process was sharp and poignant. He very excellently and succinctly distilled why the Abraham Accords were so problematic. Some small details I wish he'd mentioned. Two Israeli organizations, B'Tselem and PHR Israel, have also said that Israel's actions meet the criteria for genocide. Trump's reckless decision to pull out of the JCPOA he mentioned at the time, but it's relevant here. I wish he'd discussed that a key reason the opposition against Bibi has failed to end his reign is in part due to the fact that they are committed to the exclusion of the Arab parties and more broadly, the PCAL protests against them, which face far more repression and violence. Americans in general, I think, are unaware that the systematic disdain for Palestinians affects not only people in the occupied Palestinian territories, but also 20% of Israeli citizens. This is huge. This is very important. This also goes back to the same thing that I said about the distinction between liberal Zionism and anti-Zionism and the importance of recognizing that Zionism is a fascist ideology. Zionism is not about like having peaceful means to develop a Jewish state in an area that was a land without people for a people without land, right? That's a lie. It's built on a lie. Palestinian citizens of Israel are an important and often overlooked part of Israel's political story. I think this might also help contextualize the gap between much of the Israeli public hates Netanyahu and much of Israeli public is indifferent to the Palestinian suffering in Gaza. All that said, I'm really glad that John Oliver did this piece, and I applaud him for continuing to cover this issue with moral clarity. Also, I am not sure what or how much would change in Gaza were Bibi to lose the next election. Of course, I want him out too, but his successor will likely be someone like Naftali Bennett, who shares Bibi's jingoistic vision. The country still leans heavily rightwards. The domination of the Palestinian population, both in the West Bank and in Gaza, and the Palestinian citizens of Israel, what the Israeli society broadly calls Arabs, the internal domination of them and the external, if you want to consider it to be like an external conquest. I think it's still a reflection of Israeli sovereignty, a violent design that they've created for all people who are non-Jews in the region. As long as that is left unaddressed, this will be the connective tissue that holds all of the different coalitions within Israeli politics together. They have differences in domestic affairs, but as long as they still demonstrate loyalty to the IDF and do not see it as a genocidal force or a violent force, and that will never happen because from seculars all the way to the Orthodox, they consider the IDF to be this separate moral fixture of Israeli society, for the record. Okay, but as long as there is no recognition of the apartheid design or the genocide that is going on, as long as Israeli society broadly still considers all kinds of violence that the Palestinians are subjected to be appropriate, or at least one that they can just ignore, nothing will change for the Palestinians, and Israeli society will continue to go further and further right-wing. And in that further creep towards the right, the liberal Zionists will also consistently lose their civil liberties as well. Something that John Oliver literally mentioned when he talked about the Supreme Court protests. This is very, very important. Anyway, Quinnipiac, latest numbers from Quinnipiac, once again, is supporting Israel in the United States national interest. On October 2023, Democrats had a 76% opinion that supporting Israel was in the U.S. national interest. In the month of September, it is down 40 points to 36%. Not low enough. We got to get those numbers even lower. For independents, it was at 74%. Now for independents, it's at 37%. Again, not low enough. We got to get those numbers even lower. For Republicans, of course, on October, it was at 84%, and now in September, it's at 75%. The real reason why I think this continues is because obviously they love Donald Trump. Donald Trump dick rides Israel into oblivion. That's a big part of the fact. That's a big consideration. But the other real reason is because of Islamophobia. Okay, I've seen this far too many times from anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, supposedly anti-Israel, anti-Semites themselves, even, where they literally say, Jews control the media, Jews control America. I hate that. They're doing a national embarrassment to us. They're forcing our politicians' hands. But also, at least their enemies, as it stands, is Muslims, and we hate Muslims even more. I think Israel recognizes that as well, and that's precisely the reason why they heightened the Islamophobia and wield it as a weapon. Yes, there's another poll that came out. 40% of Americans think Israel is intentionally killing civilians. 16% only say unintentionally. That number has grown from 22% in December to 40% now. And 25% say Israel's taking enough precautions to avoid civilian casualties. This is a devastating number. And it showcases, once again, how much power the American mainstream media still has over the minds of so many goddamn people. Okay? Make no mistake. It is crazy. I mean, it's fantastic that clearly Americans are broadly opening up their eyes to the actions of Israel. Okay, that's good. Among age 18 and 29, provide more economic/military support to Israel is at 68% opposed. Don't worry, Larry Ellison is on the case. A couple more algorithm tweaks to TikTok, and it'll be 2007 again. Yeah. I don't think these guys are aware of how much things have changed, especially for the youth. Because remember, if you're 18 and 29, your fucking first foray into understanding this dynamic, if you're 18 and 29, your first reaction to learning about Israel and its behavior has not been the multiple decades of unlimited propaganda coming from mainstream outlets that say Israel is the most moral generation. Okay? You're also far removed from the immediate Islamophobia of 9/11. So you weren't like old enough to download that into your fucking collective consciousness that like Muslims present this genuine fear. They present this genuine fear for Western society. There is still a good chunk of that, make no mistake. But I think for a lot of people, their first experience learning about Israel has been, oh my God, these guys are the most arrogant, entitled, genocidal monsters I have ever fucking seen in my life. So very difficult for those people to see Israel as anything but what it truly is. Do you understand? Who do you sympathize more with? 90% say Israel, 61% say Palestinians. Should Israel stop and continue military campaigns? 19% say continue, 69% for age 18 to 29 say stop. 66% say Israel is intentionally killing civilians. Okay? Anyway, yeah, I already covered this, yes. From Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the second largest resistance faction, Secretary General of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad Movement, Mujahid leader Ziad al-Nakhallah says, what was announced at the press conference between Trump and Netanyahu is an American-Israeli agreement, an exception of Israel's entire position, and a recipe for continued aggression against the Palestinian people. Thus, Israel is trying to impose, what about October 7? What do you mean, what about October 7? In the immediate aftermath of October 7, there were a lot of people that were utterly horrified by all of the violence that they had seen. For a very brief moment, they also were like, oh my God, of course Israel's going to fucking kill all these people. But if you noticed, for the past 2 years, hi, I'm Samer from Gaza. Okay. Well, I don't know why you're fucking asking this stupid ass question then. For the past 2 years, Israel's done a million October 7s and worse. So obviously people went from October 7 was terrifying to, oh my God, what Israel has done is incalculable and far worse than anything that the October 7 ever could have done. And it goes beyond, for the record. That is just a way for people to start their intellectual journey. Do you understand? Like, for many people, it was, oh my God, Israel has to respond militarily. What the fuck? This is unbearable. These are barbaric monsters. To, oh my God, what Israel is doing is unimaginably worse. To, oh my God, this shit was going on. Israel was doing things exactly like this pre-October 7. Because this opens up a lot of people's eyes to the reality, right? And if their first reaction was pro-Israel on October 7, 2023, their reaction slowly changes because of Israel's unlimited violence and its genocide. And every single day, there are more people who turn around and say, oh my God, I was so wrong. This is completely unacceptable. This is completely unacceptable. In 2023, a supermajority of Americans, 69%, believed it was in our national interest to support Israel. Today, that number is 47 and falling fast. Yet Israel seems only intent on accelerating what half the country now agrees is an ongoing genocide. No, I didn't watch. Did Joe Rogan attend Epstein parties, man? What are you talking about? I didn't watch it. Like, here, this person is a perfect example of this. This person, until like only a couple months ago, was literally still like, you know, Hasan, I'm a fan of you, but I also see Ethan Klein's side on this. Like, only a couple months ago, I remember this username. Okay? That is the reason why I let bygones be bygones in many circumstances. Because, like, once you open your eyes to how one-sided this genocide is and how asymmetrical the disproportionate violence that Palestinians have been subjected to actually looks like throughout the inception of the Israeli nation state and throughout 80 plus years of complete domination, okay, slowly but surely, people arrive at the position that I was at on October 6th and the same position that I was at on October 7 and October 8th, 2023. The reason why people were so aggressive and trying to stamp out any sort of discontent that had this, that said, hold on now, there is a reason why October 7 happened. This is like, much more complex than you think it is. This is about apartheid. This is about Israel's death and destruction campaign that predated October 7. The reason why so many people were immediately fearful of that kind of statement and looked for ways in which they could justify why I was saying such a thing was because they just didn't know the history. Okay? They just did not know the history. Do you understand? They didn't know the history. That's it. Because if you did know the history, you would have that position at that moment too. And I spent a lot of time early on trying to explain said history to anyone who would listen. And slowly but surely, more and more people actually came to that recognition. Do you understand? That's why, as long as I hear from someone, like, I would say Bernie Sanders is like, hold on his liberal Zionist position is unique, partially because he's old and partially because of his own personal connection to Israel. Most people don't operate like that. They don't just like stop at that version of liberal Zionism. Most people move far beyond that and go towards anti-Zionism. It takes time. It takes a lot of learning. It takes a lot of reading. It takes a lot of critical thinking. But once you have recognized that like Israel is the international rights violating party there, unless you are literally brain broken by Islamophobia, it is an inevitability that you will become an anti-Zionist. Do you understand? And even Bernie, in the aftermath of the UN recognition, while still fucking laying the blame on Hamas, openly recognized that it was a genocide. He was forced to. Anyway, here let's talk about the shutdown. House Democratic leaders Jeffries and Senate Minority Leader Schumer speak after Trump meeting. Now, obviously, I want you to hold on to your undergarments because I know everyone's pussy about to be wet as fuck. Hakeem Jeffries is on the screen. This level of sexual charisma cannot be contained. I know that there's going to be an adverse reaction. I know my pussy wet too. Okay, calm down. Hold on to your butts. Okay, the sexual panthers are here.
Okay. Well, we met with the president for the first time since all of these issues started, even though we have requested repeated meetings with Leader Thune, Speaker Johnson, and the president. We have very large differences on health care and on their ability to undo whatever budget we agree to through rescissions and through impoundment, as well as pocket rescissions. And I think for the first time, the president heard our objections and heard why we needed a bipartisan bill. Their bill has not one iota of Democratic input. That is never how we've done this before. When I was leader, we negotiated 4 times with Republicans.
Yeah, perhaps that was a problem.
And we never had a shutdown. And so it's up to the Republicans whether they want to shut down or not. We've made to the president some proposals. Our Republican leaders will have to talk to them about them, but ultimately he's the decision maker. And if he will accept some of the things we asked, which we think the American people are for, on health care and on rescissions, he can avoid a shutdown. But there are still large differences between us.
There was a frank and direct discussion with the President of the United States and Republican leaders, but significant and meaningful differences remain. Democrats are fighting to protect the health care of the American people, and we are not going to support a partisan Republican spending bill that continues to gut the health care of everyday Americans. Period. Full stop. There's a Republican-caused healthcare crisis that is causing hospitals and nursing homes and community-based health clinics all across the country, in rural America, urban America, small-town America, the heartland of America, and black and brown communities throughout this country. And that crisis is happening right now. And that's why we believe there is urgency to both keeping the government open, reaching a...
I think this is why Trump wants to arrest Democrats, because this kind of charisma is dangerous. I get it. I get why Trump fears these men, okay? Especially Hakeem. This kind of charisma cannot be contained. Okay, this will move mountains. I feel like it's revolutionary armed struggle time anytime Hakeem talks. These are my goats. Fuck you. This is my goats too. What do you mean?
Bipartisan spending agreement that actually meets the needs of the American people in terms of their health, their safety, their economic well-being and quality of life, while also addressing the dangerous Republican healthcare crisis.
We laid out to the president some of the consequences of what's happening in healthcare. And
like he didn't fucking know.
Base, and by the way he looked, I think he heard about them for the first time. Closing of rural hospitals. The fact that so many clinics are closing. And I don't know if he knew this before, but the fact that people will pay $4,000 more a year, $400 more a month, close to $5,000 more a year on their health care premiums if we don't do anything. And people don't know what to do. The average working family can't afford that. I told him how I met a mother who was crying to me because her daughter had cancer. And what has happened with health care, with what they have done, she's going to watch her daughter.
Trump would more likely to find who that woman is and kill him directly. than to reconsider his decisions.
They're suffering, maybe die. And so he seemed to, for the first time, understand the magnitude of this crisis, and we hope he'll talk to the Republican.
Like, the point to drive a shutdown in this instance is to really drive a wedge between Trump and his base, to identify that the assurances that they're demanding are to protect the American citizens from the imminent threat to their health care. Okay, they're going to lapse their coverage. Healthcare is going to be much more costly, as he's like describing right now. In the, like, you might be having a hard time understanding the things that he's saying because he's so fucking hot, and you're just like, oh my God, I could just like, whatever you say, beautiful is probably what a lot of people are saying. So let me like walk you through it, right? The reason why you push for a shutdown in this situation is to really highlight what you are seeking to protect. Okay. And what you're seeking to protect in this circumstance is $800 billion of cuts for Medicaid. 1 minute ago, this is what Trump said.
There's no way to sugarcoat it. Nobody likes Democrats anymore. We have no voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore. Even Latinos hate us. So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too. Look, guys.
Seems like Donald Trump really took it to heart when Chuck Schumer talked about healthcare becoming unaffordable, considering that this is what he posted right after this meeting took place. It seems like that was his primary takeaway here. That's good. That's the president. We are so close to a deal, man, it seems. That's not a real tweet. Please tell me that. No, that's a real tweet. What makes you think that the president wouldn't tweet that? Did you miss the whole medbed incident? Judging by the medbed shit, he probably thinks this is real as well. That's funny as hell, but it's sad that your president is posting it. Admit it, though, is funny as fuck. I mean, if it wasn't... Yeah, if Donald Trump wasn't the president, yeah, that'd be funny, I guess. I don't know. I guess Donald Trump being the president makes it funny because it's just like boomer shit.
Leaders and tell them we need bipartisan input on...
How was it funny? It was insanely racist. The funniness obviously comes from the fact that it's the fucking president posting some unhinged shit like that instead of being a serious person for once.
Healthcare on rescissions into their bill. Their bill does not have they never talk to us. Thune didn't negotiate with me. Johnson didn't negotiate with Hakeem. And on the key issues, the Appropriations Committee, which has talked about 3 of the smaller bills, they're good bills, they said the appropriators couldn't agree and said kick it up to the 4 leaders. They still haven't talked.
And let me say, we're deadly serious about addressing the Republican-caused healthcare crisis because it's a deadly, serious issue for the American people. Largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health funding closing right now. The fact that more than 20 million Americans are on the brink of experiencing dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles because of the Republican refusal to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits, which benefit working class Americans. And we pointed that out.
I'm not going to lie. I think given how uncharismatic these guys are and the tendency for Republicans to just straightforward lie about everything, if they pushed for a fucking shutdown, I feel like the Republicans would just dominate these guys and be like, they want to give $17 quintillion to undocumented migrants in the form of healthcare. And that's why they wanted to shut the government. And these guys would come out and be like, I don't know. And then everyone would hate them even more. And then for for the first time in the history of shutdowns, they would still blame the non-governing party on the shutdowns. That's how fucking bad the situation is. This is why you need to have people who are good, charismatic, bold, radical leaders in charge of the Democratic Party. Oh, the Vance literally did that today. Ugh. It's called the Democrat shutdown. The Democrats shut down the government. I didn't want to do it, but I'm firing everyone permanently. This Felix tweet is evergreen. I think it's dangerous to have orators who are capable of whipping people into a frenzy like this. Someone who has this kind of charisma can get away with anything.
We know Donald Trump watches a lot of television. Mr. President, if you're watching television, shut it off and come sit down and negotiate with us.
Oh my God, I just came a little bit in my pants. Fuck. I hate when that happens. And it just always happens when I see aura of this magnitude, epic proportions. You've never seen it like that. Okay? You've never seen it like that. Mr. President, if you're watching the TV, shut it off and come negotiate right now. Oh man, I just nutted. Vance did do that today.
The original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a...
Dems are quick to fact check this, but regardless, these are exactly the terms Republicans would like to set for debating the Medicaid changes in the reconciliation bill.
1 point.
Oh, that's why that dumb fuck, Elon Musk 584 or whatever was like, why do you want to spend $1.5 trillion on immigrants, on aliens, illegal aliens?
But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American... But if you look at the package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that's preposterous.
I mean, he's fucking uncharismatic too. That's the other thing. Like, he's hella uncharismatic as well. Look at this fucking dingus.
We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer.
Sorry, just kidding. I'm nutting again. He's also hot. He's a sexual panther in his own right. God, what a dynamo. What a fucking dynamo this guy is. God, I don't know whose bag I need to blow out around these parts. You know what I mean? Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, or J.D. Vance. I guess you could say this is my hillbilly elegy.
Because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make... But if you look...
All three? Oh my God, stop it. Till his mascara runs from the side of his plump little cheeks. And no, I don't mean his face, if you know what I'm saying. Last time they said if they let the government shut down, Trump would have full control to do whatever he wants. What's different now? I mean, it was fucking bullshit last time as well as it is this time. Fight, man. Fight, please. Please fight. This is one of the top political commentators in America. I don't fucking know anymore, dude. Oh, also there's this aspect too. The push by top aides to President Trump to remove Nicolas Maduro as the leader of Venezuela has intensified in recent days, with administration officials discussing a broad campaign that would escalate military pressure to try to force him out, U.S. officials say. And from what I understand, this push is being led by Marco Rubio, Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. Mr. Rubio argues that Mr. Maduro is an illegitimate leader who oversees the export of drugs to the United States, which he says poses an imminent threat. There's additional reporting from a journalist that went down to Venezuela to track down the victims of the bombing incidents. And it turns out that actually they were fucking fishermen. I forget which journalist this was, but like they talked to the wife of a fisherman who said that her husband actually went out to go fishing and never returned. And also on top of that, Democrats, for the record, have been quietly floating a message around, a memo around that says, do not talk about Trump trying to go to war with Venezuela. Yep, here it is. A senior Dem staffer is discouraging Democrats from coming out against the regime change in Venezuela. Congressional sources tell me. This is Ida Chavez. The staffer is using the Bush-era Iraq line, arguing that opposing Trump-Rubio's regime change amounts to supporting Maduro. Tommy Vitor says, I'm sorry, what? Democrats should loudly oppose regime change in Venezuela for countless reasons, including the fact that toppling Maduro would likely lead to chaos and violence and unleash a massive wave of destabilizing migration to the Western Hemisphere. Which reminds me of my favorite Onion article title, This war is going to, toppling Saddam is going to likely lead to chaos and violence and unleash a massive wave of destabilization and migration throughout the region versus no, it won't. Versus no, it won't. Yep, this is this is what I was looking for. This war will destabilize the entire Mideast region and set off global shockwave of anti-Americanism versus no, it won't. Yeah, it's up there with why do these homosexuals keep sucking my cock everywhere I go? 07.
You will hear a lot from Senate Democrats, from House Democrats about the fact that American healthcare policy is broken. Well, we know that American healthcare policy is broken. We've been trying to fix it for the 8 months that we've been in office. But every single thing that they accuse about being broken about American healthcare is policy that Democrats have supported for the past decade. So if they want to talk about how to fix American healthcare policy, let's do it.
They're not wrong, except the Republicans support the same policies. That's the problem. Both of these policies are still in the direction of a public-private partnership and profit-centered solutions to healthcare. None of these policies have actually moved away from privatized healthcare, privatized health insurance. That's the problem. So he's not wrong when he says that the Democrats have advanced this interest. And yes, I do factor Obamacare into this as well. The only anti-capitalist provision in there was, of course, lo and behold, the most popular one, which was the forcing of the private healthcare providers to no longer refuse to cover people with pre-existing conditions, and also the fact that you could stay under your parents' healthcare coverage until the age of 26. Those are the two anti-capitalist measures that were added onto that. Having said that, every other aspect of this was simply just another massive federal government subsidy to private healthcare providers. Public option. I'm sorry. Was there someone who actually earnestly advanced public option? Because that's what Joe Biden ran on, if I recall correctly. How many times did he talk about pushing for a public option? I guess in my 12 years as a professional political commentator, I missed that part where the Democrats didn't fucking do that. Any day now, though, they're going to start. Just wait until there is more momentum in the advocacy side for Medicare for all. Only then will they say, no, public option is the way. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, we're going to get into the deadly Michigan church attack now.
Answers after an attack at a Mormon church in Grand Blanc, Michigan. Police say at least 4 people were killed and 8 others injured when an armed man drove his car into a crowded church yesterday on a Sunday and began shooting before setting that church on fire. Police quickly swarmed to the scene. They killed the gunman, but now the questions of why. Investigators are still trying to determine what the motive might.
Yeah, they're waiting for fucking Kash Patel to fly out there and find bullet casings that say, I did this because I'm transgender Antifa. If only. Of course, once again, when it's another MAGA guy, as is the case with the Michigan guy, thoughts and prayers to this heinous attack. Who could have foreseen this? Who could have seen this coming? Okay, first, because the victims were in a church, obviously, people immediately started going with the left. The radical left is attacking churches. You know who's attacking churches in this country? Fucking ICE, man. In my life, I've never encountered a radical leftist that's been like, I am so angry at the fucking church that I'm going to shoot at the church proceeding. That's so stupid. Even the most aggressive r/atheism adjacent dipshit would not take revenge on regular churchgoers. Like, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It only makes sense if you have designed a permanent victimhood narrative as an evangelical Christian in this goddamn country, and you think the left is actually attacking fucking churches or some shit. Virtually all of the church shootings are actually done by white nationalists. Dylan Roof being one of the most famous examples of this. Dylan Roof walked into a black church and shot up the churchgoers.
On Sunday morning, a madman killed at least 4 people and wounded 8 others at a Michigan Latter-day Saints church. The horror started around 10:30 a.m. when he rammed his Chevy Silverado truck into the building, where hundreds of worshipers had gathered for a Sunday service in Grand Blanc Township. The killer's vehicle had 2 large American flags behind the cab and a set of deer antlers attached to the bumper. He then got out and opened fire with an assault rifle on the congregation and set the church ablaze, causing the entire structure to burn down. So what do we know about the sicko who did this? The suspect's name is...
New York Post can't be serious even for a brief fucking moment, bro. I swear to God. Like, you can't use that professional tone while being like, this sicko that actually did this. Like, it's just, please, man. Please, like, be a normal fucking news outlet for once in your goddamn lives, man.
Thomas Jacob Sanford from nearby Burton, Michigan. He was a 40-year-old Iraq War veteran.
Let's see if they fucking mention his politics.
Who served in the U.S. Marines. A Facebook post by Sanford's mother says the gunman served in Iraq from 2004 to 2008. According to Fox News, he worked as an organizational automotive mechanic and vehicle recovery operator who earned a number of awards for his service and achieved the rank of sergeant. Social media...
Laura Loomer goes on a tirade after the tragic shooting in a Mormon church suggesting violence would link the Muslims and the Muslim Brotherhood. Meanwhile, the shooter has been pictured previously in a Trump t-shirt. The tactic of the fascists to blame Muslims and immigrants reflexively. Remember, when you don't care about the facts, you shape reality according to your agenda and ideology. Yeah. For the record, this is the meta. It's either Muslim or Antifa or trans or, like, depending on what you care about the most, right? Laura Loomer obviously is a massive shill for Israel, and therefore she has everything... she has every interest in basically heightening the tensions and heightening Islamophobia. So she's going to say it's Muslims. A lot of people like Matt Walsh will say it's a trans person. Like, depending on who the conservative person is, know that they're going to lie to you, but just know how they're going to lie to you. It's like the direction of the lie is going to reveal what their personal project is, their pet project is in this instance. And their pet project, the pet project for Laura Loomer, obviously, is Islam. It always has been, and will continue to be. And for many other Republicans, they'll just say, like, for Candace, will tell you it's the Jews. True. Candace Owens will say it's Israel.
Accounts believed to be connected to Sanford reveal he was a family...
I mean, you can fucking tell the dude is definitely a homegrown white boy, though. The way that New York Post is covering it, like the Zach Fox tweet. You feel me? They're literally talking, they're posting it like this dude who just shot up a Mormon church is like the nicest guy you've ever seen. Conservatives lied about his shirt. By the way, they spread a Photoshop blank t-shirt and claimed the Trump thing was Photoshopped. It was immediately disprovable, and they still ran within the Daily Caller. Retracted. Eric Swalwell appears to post Photoshop picture to call church attack suspect MAGA. Retraction notice. After publishing the story, the Daily Caller discovered that the photo shared by Representative Swalwell was the original photo, not the altered version. We deeply regret the error. Do you? Do you deeply regret the error? I don't think you deeply regret the error. Yeah, I saw that too. Every fucking major conservative account immediately fucking ran with the idea that this photo was actually photoshopped. That's what they did. What a stupid and dishonest dichotomy. When this fat, bald R-word decided to do what he did, conservatives didn't come out and say it was deserved. The problem is the action, yes, but the bigger problem, the political ecosystem, is that rationalizes and supports violence. First of all, as Brian Krassenstein correctly points out, they certainly did do that for Paul Pelosi. And secondly, it very clearly doesn't matter how many people, myself included, said political violence is unacceptable in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk assassination, because conservatives obviously still went along with the notion that, like, everyone was celebrating and demanding more of it.